Revealed, how one nanny changed the lives of twins for 30 days in an incredible, heartwarming way. In a quiet suburb of Chicago, the weight of life hung heavily on Sarah's shoulders. A 34-year-old single mother, she juggled the demands of two spirited twins, Mia and Jake. The echoing walls of their modest home often overflowed with misunderstandings born from long shifts. As a waitress by day and a cleaning lady by night, each minute was consumed by the relentless pursuit of survival. "Mom, I miss you," Jake would call, and Sarah's heart would tighten. She longed to connect but was too exhausted to be the mother her children needed. Just when the feeling of being overwhelmed threatened to consume her, Lucy stepped through the door. An enthusiastic nanny from a small town, Lucy brought warmth and creativity into their lives, flipping mundane afternoons into extraordinary moments. She wore her heart on her sleeve, her laughter filling the gaps Sarah couldn't. Painting rainbows in the backyard, she turned their home into a carnival of joy. With every craft project, the twins flourished, their imaginations ignited. "Look at this, Mom!" Mia exclaimed, her little hands covered in paint. But in the backdrop, whispers curled from neighbors, judging Lucy's rural beginnings. It stung. Could they see the beauty she brought into their lives? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days became weeks, those spontaneous picnics at the local park painted a stark contrast to a life of struggle. One bright afternoon, beneath the azure sky, Lucy spread out a gingham blanket, inviting laughter and learning. Mia and Jake, munching on sandwiches, looked at Lucy with adoration. Their eyes sparkled with hope, discovering empathy in how Lucy listened and shared stories. But just as light pierced the clouds of their joy, the weight of social prejudice began sneaking in. Sarah's insecurities deepened as she heard hushed whispers. Doesn't she have better prospects? How can she let her children be raised by someone like that? The tension snapped one evening at a community event, when an unapologetic neighbor confronted Sarah. "Is that really who you want for your kids? A country girl?" The sting of judgment struck deep. Uncertainty pricked at Sarah's heart. In this moment of despair, Lucy stood shoulder to shoulder with her, a silent support. It ignited something powerful in Sarah. She felt the fire of resilience flare up inside her, igniting a fierce determination. "You judge what you don't understand," she replied, her voice steady. The air crackled, tension thick as they locked eyes. Would they emerge united against the tide of prejudice attempting to pull them apart? As the end of 30 days approached, transformations loomed, loyalty binding them together, yet crucial questions lingered. Could Sarah balance her dreams with the love she craved to show her twins? With every confrontation, every shared moment, they stood at the edge of a breakthrough. Should the bonds deepen, or would the fractures left unhealed tear them apart? As the sun began to set that day, casting a golden hue over the park, it felt like a prelude to something monumental. The stakes rose higher, leaving everyone wondering, would love triumph, or would the community's judgment lead to their unraveling? The tension hung in the air like the last notes of a fading song. Sarah felt the weight of her neighbor's words press against her. The murmur of the crowd surged around them, pulling at her confidence. Lucy glanced up, her bright eyes holding Sarah's gaze, silently urging her to stand tall. Taking a steadying breath, Sarah gripped the hem of her shirt, grounding herself as she responded. "What matters is love, not background. My kids, they look up to Lucy because she shows them kindness and creativity. That's what will matter." A low ripple of surprise passed through the onlookers. There was courage in her voice that Sarah had never felt before. It was as if the wind had shifted, carrying whispers away, allowing her true feelings to rise above the noise. A flicker of hope ignited in her heart, but the heat of the moment wasn't fully extinguished. Another neighbor, arms crossed defiantly, sneered. Just because she plays dress-up with them doesn't mean she should be there constant. Do you play dress-up with your kids? Jake piped up, his voice clear and innocent. The laughter he evoked momentarily broke the tension, but it also threw Sarah into deeper contemplation. At what cost would she chase societal approval, and how could she defend the choice that had felt so right only a few weeks ago? That night, after returning home, she noticed Mia and Jake sprawled on the floor with Lucy, surrounded by a colorful explosion of crayons and paper. They were absorbed, their giggles echoing through the living room. It struck Sarah, suddenly, how the laughter blended into a melody of normalcy she so desperately needed. The stark contrast with the day's harsh realities was stark. She wanted to capture this moment forever, a time where the vibrant colors far outweighed the starkness of judgments from people around them. But as Mia turned to Sarah, her smile breaking through the tension of the day, Sarah felt the edges of decisions sharpen. What would it mean to embrace Lucy's support wholly? The threads connecting them were fragile but real. "Mom!" Mia called out the words sweetly. "Do you want to draw with us?" A twinge of regret filled Sarah's chest. What if she had let the day's events taint this simple joy? The voices outside faded at the sound of her children's laughter mingling with Lucy's gentle encouragement. In one swift motion, she sank to the floor, picking up a crayon, letting the day's worries melt away with every stroke of color. As the evening wore on, laughter enveloped their home, a protective shield against the outside world. Yet, beneath the surface, doubt fluttered like a caught butterfly, waiting for an opportune moment to break free. The next morning brought a new challenge, one that left Sarah's heart racing. An unexpected call from a local news station shifted everything. "We want to do a feature on unique parenting stories, and we've heard about your journey." What opportunity and danger lingered in those words? Would this be their chance to showcase Lucy's impact, or would it invite more judgment? As she hung up, Sarah looked at Lucy, who was preparing breakfast with Mia and Jake giggling at the kitchen table, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. Should she share their story? What if sharing brought them closer or tore them apart? She took a deep breath, knowing that this decision could change everything. Would she dare to open that door? Would love withstand the scrutiny of the world outside? The clock ticked painfully as she pondered the possibilities. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on the laughter-filled table. Sarah stood there, still holding the phone, the words of the producer echoing in her mind. Despite the joy radiating from Mia and Jake, a heavy knot twisted in her stomach. Taking a deep breath, she stepped back into the whirlwind of breakfast chaos. "Mom, look at what I drew!" Mia exclaimed, holding up a page splattered with colors, a wild explosion of shapes that reflected her vibrant spirit. Sarah's heart fluttered. How could she disrupt this happiness by exposing it to the world? Lucy glanced over, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, her expression soft yet curious. "What's on your mind, Sarah?" she asked, her voice a gentle invitation. Sarah hesitated, her fingers tapping nervously against the countertop. "I got a call from a news station. They want to feature us." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging thick in the air. Mia's hopeful gaze turned uncertain, while Jake looked between Sarah and Lucy, sensing a shift. "Is that a good thing?" Lucy asked, her brows furrowing slightly. Sarah's heart raced. It could be, but what if it turns into something negative? What if they twist the narrative? It could be a disaster. Lucy nodded, her eyes thoughtful. Or it could show the world how important love and support are, regardless of how we look or where we come from. The kids resumed their drawing, but the tension lingered like a heavy fog. Sarah felt torn between the warmth of their little world and the unpredictable chaos of outside judgment. Sometimes, Lucy continued, the best moments come when we're brave enough to share our truth. You're not just wrapping them in colors and laughter, you're teaching them resilience, too. The words simmered in Sarah's heart, stirring a flicker of hope. Could this opportunity shine a light on their family, on Lucy's contributions? That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Sarah found herself sitting across the table from Lucy, discussing the offer. Each word felt like a pebble being dropped in a pond, rippling out toward possibilities. Maybe we can control the story, she suggested cautiously. We could talk about the real us, what we love, what we fight for. Lucy met her gaze, a spark of encouragement in her eyes. Exactly. This could be a chance for others to see love in its many forms. And it might inspire someone else. Yet, as much as hope blossomed within her, Sarah's mind was clouded with doubts. What if the response was overwhelmingly negative? What if their vulnerability was met with disdain? Mia's laughter cut through her thoughts, pulling Sarah back to the moment. The innocence of her laughter reminded her of the joy Lucy had brought into their lives. But could she trust the world outside not to crush that joy? Days passed, and Sarah wrestled with her decision. Each time the phone rang or a knock echoed at the door, her heart raced. It was during one of those moments that she overheard Mia talking to Jake. "Do you think Mommy will tell everyone about Lucy? They should know how awesome she is." The purity of Mia's belief hit Sarah like a wave. There was power in that honesty, a clarity that pierced through her fear. "I've got to believe in this," she whispered to herself, grip tightening on the desk. Just then, the phone rang again. This time, she didn't hesitate. With trembling fingers, Sarah answered, her heart pounding. "Hi, this is Sarah," but the question loomed in her mind: was she ready for this step? What story would she reveal, and could they handle whatever came next? The world outside waited, and so did their tale. Would it be a celebration of love, or would shadows lurk beneath the surface, ready to strike? The answer hung in the air, tantalizing and terrifying all at once. The next morning, the kitchen buzzed with excitement. Mia and Jake chattered about their plans for the day, oblivious to the weight Sarah carried. She watched them from her place at the counter, their joy a bright dance against her anxiety. The phone call had sparked something deep within her, a mix of fear and hope. "Are we going to the park today?" Jake asked, his eyes bright with anticipation. "Yeah, let us go. I want to climb the jungle gym," Mia added, bouncing on her toes. "Just give me a second to finish breakfast," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. She was aware that outside the familiar walls of their home, the world could be cold and unwelcoming. But in that moment, their laughter washed over her doubts like sunlight breaking through clouds. As they finished eating, Sarah felt the stirring of something more profound. "Hey, do you guys want to help me get ready for the news crew? I need your opinions on what we should say." Their responses were immediate and filled with enthusiasm. "Can I tell them about my drawing?" Mia asked, her face glowing with pride. "And I want to say how cool Lucy is." Jake chimed in, his voice filled with excitement. Sarah's heart warmed at their enthusiasm. Perhaps she had underestimated the power of sharing their story. "Absolutely. We can tell them all about how special our family is and how much we love each other." As they got ready, Sarah felt the weight of her fears lighten. The kids were eager to share their truth, and maybe their bravery could lead her own. Lucy joined them in the living room, a bright ray of support. The sight of her instantly calmed Sarah's swirling thoughts. "Ready for this big adventure?" Lucy asked, a playful glint in her eye as she ruffled Jake's hair. Sarah nodded, the corners of her mouth lifting into a hopeful smile. "Just thinking about what we'll say." "You know what?" Lucy leaned closer, her voice gentle. "Whatever happens, you're showing them the beauty of family and love. Even if it's scary, your voice matters." The reassurance struck a chord within Sarah. This was bigger than her fears, it was about their family story being told, unfiltered and real. As they made their way to the park, Sarah's heart beat in sync with Mia's excited chatter beside her. They chuckled at the silly jokes exchanged, each laugh dissolving the remnants of her reservations. With each step, Sarah could feel her fear transform into something more like anticipation. Arriving at the park, the sun gleamed down, and so did the laughter of children playing nearby. Sarah breathed in the familiar scent of grass and earth. It felt like a new beginning, a spark of possibility. Mia and Jake dashed off to explore, leaving Sarah and Lucy with a moment of quiet connection. Lucy squeezed Sarah's hand, her voice warm. "It's going to be okay. Whatever comes, you have us." Just then, the sound of approaching footsteps interrupted their moment. A camera team arrived, a mix of excitement and nerves bubbling in Sarah's chest. The moment felt surreal, like the world was finally ready to hear them. As the crew set up, Sarah glanced at Mia, who was gleefully chatting with Jake, discussing the best way to climb the monkey bars. Seeing their innocence reminded Sarah of the promises they had made to each other to love, to share, and to stand strong together. The producer approached, introducing himself and explaining the format of the segment. "We'd love to hear your story," he said, his smile warm and inviting. Sarah's throat tightened. The time had come. She took a deep breath, squeezing Lucy's hand for courage. "Just remember," Lucy whispered. "You're not alone in this." With that, Sarah turned to the camera, their story ready to unfold. But as she opened her mouth to speak, a rush of uncertainty surged through her. What if this didn't go as planned? What if it changed everything? The thought gripped her, leaving her at a crossroads. Would she step forward into the light, embracing their truth, or retreat into the shadows of her fears? As the camera zoomed in, Sarah hesitated, the moment stretching long and filled with unspoken possibilities. It was time to reveal the truth, not just about them, but about love itself. Yet, her heart raced with a question that lingered like a whisper: were they truly ready for the world to witness their story? The world seemed to fade away as Sarah's heart thundered in her chest. She could see the camera lenses focusing, the bright lights shimmering against the vibrant colors of the park. Everything narrowed down to this moment, her moment. What if she stumbled over her words? What if they didn't understand? But then she caught sight of Mia and Jake, climbing the jungle gym, their little bodies filled with joy and innocence. The realization hit her. This was about them. Their journey. Their strength. Taking a deep breath, Sarah steadied herself, determined not to let fear overshadow their truth. The producer smiled encouragingly, his kind eyes meeting hers. "Whenever you're ready," he said gently, and the pressure of the moment felt a little less heavy. Sarah nodded, swallowing hard as the warmth of Lucy's hand remained a reassuring anchor. "Okay," she began, her voice barely above a whisper before it grew clearer. "Today, we're here to share our story. It's not just about me or the kids, it's about how we found strength in love even when it felt impossible." She closed her eyes for a split second, centering herself. Then she opened them, her gaze steady on the camera. "We've been through challenges that threatened to pull us apart. But we've learned that family doesn't just mean blood. It's about the bonds we create with love and trust. It's about standing together in the face of adversity." Mia and Jake, hearing their mother's words, looked over with curiosity. Jake gave her an enthusiastic thumbs up, while Mia shouted, "Go, Mommy." Their cheers fueled Sarah's courage, igniting embers of hope deep within her. "We had the chance to open our hearts to someone special," Sarah continued, her voice cracking with emotion. "A nanny who has touched our lives in ways we never expected. I want everyone to know that it's okay to let people in. And sometimes, it takes the smallest gestures to change everything." A smile crept across her face as memories flooded in the laughter-filled afternoons, the silly games with Lucy, the artwork Mia proudly showcased, and Jake's cheeky grin when he was up to mischief. She painted their story in vivid colors, letting the emotions spill from her heart. "And we've grown. We've learned to be brave," Sarah said, her voice gaining strength. No matter what the world throws at us, we'll stand together. Because in the end, love always wins." As she finished, an unexpected hush fell over the park. A connection sparked among the small audience that had gathered: parents, children, friends. Some were smiling, others visibly moved. Sarah's heart raced, realizing that they, too, felt the weight of her words. Then, the producer signaled for a break, and a wave of relief washed over Sarah. The tension in her shoulders loosened. She felt lighter, as if a storm cloud had finally lifted. The thrill of sharing their story mingled with the chuckles of her children, who were now racing toward her with arms wide open, eager for a family hug. "Mommy, that was awesome." Jake beamed, wiping a small, tangible tear from his eye. "You made them feel." Mia danced around, her joy radiant. Sarah squeezed them tightly, her heart soaring. She had faced her fears, and in doing so, had given them the strength to face theirs, together. But just as the adrenaline started to fade, Sarah noticed a figure lurking in the background, a familiar face from the past, someone she thought she had left behind. Her breath hitched, tension rippling through her. What did their reappearance mean? She wasn't sure if she could handle this new twist. Life had just taken another unexpected turn, and as she grasped her children's hands more tightly, she knew the next challenge was looming closer than ever, waiting to unfold. Sarah's heart raced as she looked towards the figure. It was Ethan. The way he stood there, hands in pockets, casting a shadow over the sunlight that dappled the park, felt like an ominous omen. Memories came flooding back, uninvited and raw arguments that had simmered into silence, promises unkept. "Mommy, who's that?" Jake's voice broke the tension, curious and innocent. For a second, she hesitated. "Just someone from the past, honey," she replied, her voice steady but her insides churning. As Ethan took a step closer, her instinct was to turn away, to shield Mia and Jake from whatever storm might brew. But they were drawn to the sound of his familiar voice. "Sarah?" he called out, his tone tentative. "Can we talk?" Just then, Lucy emerged from the nearby concession stand, carrying a basket of popcorn. She looked between Sarah and Ethan, sensing the heavy air that enveloped them. Without missing a beat, she knelt beside the kids, making silly faces that earned giggles and diverted their attention. "Hey there, partners in crime!" she exclaimed, her bright smile a stark contrast to the moment. But Sarah's heart didn't ease. "Isn't it a bit late for that?" Sarah replied, her voice firmer than before as she tried to keep her emotions in check. She wouldn't let him drain the strength she'd just built. Ethan's expression softened, a combination of regret and longing flickering across his face. "I've missed so much. I just want to explain." Something about his voice made her falter. The weight of the last few years came rushing back, every lonely night, every triumph Sarah had had without him. She looked at Jake and Mia, whose faces were now curious slates. They didn't know the history, the hurt that lingered, yet they could feel the tension. "Why now?" was all she could manage, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Why after all this time?" "I had to see you. To understand what I lost," he said, his gaze unwavering. The words hung in the air, heavy as lead. Sarah's heart ached, torn between the past and the present, the life she had built and the unfinished business that now stood before her. "Mia, Jake, why don't you and Lucy pick out some snacks?" She forced a smile, hoping her kids wouldn't sense the storm brewing inside her. "I'll be right here." "Okay, Mommy." They bounded away, hands flailing in excitement, oblivious to the silence that now thickened around Sarah and Ethan. "What do you want, Ethan?" she asked, her voice edged with frustration. "You walked away. You chose to leave this life behind. I didn't know what to do back then. I was scared, but I've changed. I want a second chance," he said, desperation tinging his words. "I want to meet the kids." That last statement sent a chill down Sarah's spine. Meeting the kids meant tearing open wounds, risking their newfound happiness. You don't just get to come back, Ethan. Not after everything. She fought against the urge to scan the horizon for support, wishing Lucy would appear, wishing for her rock in the tempest. But she stood firm. In that moment, Sarah let the raw truth spill out. You can't just walk in here and pretend everything's okay. It isn't. His eyes fell to the ground, and when he looked back up, there was something different and understanding, perhaps, that their past still echoed in the present. I know I messed up, Sarah. I wish I could erase it, but I can't. Around them, the laughter of children continued, a sweet reminder of what was at stake. Mia and Jake didn't have the full story, and Sarah wanted to protect them from any shadows her past might cast. Maybe this isn't the time or place for this conversation. The tightness in her chest was palpable, a mix of bitterness and longing. Her heart wrestled with memories good and bad and the unyielding weight of responsibility as their mother. As her strength fortified with every heartbeat, a new thought pressed in. But what if I'm not the only one with a story to tell? Sarah paused, her uncertainty hanging in the air. Was she ready for this revelation? Or would it just open the floodgates of the past once more? The answer sat on the tip of her tongue, waiting to be spoken. And just like that, Sarah realized, was she willing to let Ethan back in, even if just a little? A chance shook with the wind, and the choices ahead felt more complicated than ever. Ethan stood in front of Sarah, his body language shifting from hopeful to uncertain. She could see the weight of her words hitting him. It was a strange contrast. This man, once so familiar, now felt like an uninvited stranger. The memories wrapped around her like a cloak, blending comfort with pain. Can we at least talk without the kids around? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. A worry gnawed at Sarah. What could he possibly say that would change the tide? Before she could respond, Mia and Jake returned, their hands filled with popcorn and candy. They were laughing, blissfully unaware of the tension. Lucy followed closely, her expression smooth and comforting. Look! We got snacks. Jake declared, waving a brilliantly colored candy in the air as if it were a trophy. Great job, team. Sarah managed a smile, the kids' excitement momentarily calming her racing thoughts. But it was fragile, like spun sugar, and she knew it wouldn't last. Do you want some, Ethan? Mia asked, her innocent inquiry feeling like an arrow in Sarah's chest. Ethan knelt, met her gaze, and for a fleeting moment, none of them remembered the past. Sure, I do, he replied, accepting a handful of popcorn, returning a glimmer of warmth that buzzed in the air. Sarah held her breath, caught between the urgency to protect her kids and the undeniable pull of old emotions wanting to resurface. She recognized the struggle within herself. It mirrored the battle she had fought since he left. To allow him a chance to be in their lives wasn't merely an opening of the door, it was a gate to a wild storm. Let us go to the playground. Lucy suggested, her keen instincts picking up on the undercurrents shifting in the air. The children bounded ahead, not looking back, and Sarah hesitated, her heart caught between their laughter and Ethan's yearning gaze. I need to know you're serious about this, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. It can't be just about nostalgia for you. It's about them. Ethan nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting a deep understanding, or was it guilt? I want to be there for them. To help you. I'm not just asking you to forgive me, I want to earn trust. A soft sigh escaped her lips. You have no idea what you're asking. It isn't just a matter of being involved. What if it goes wrong again? But what if it goes right? He challenged gently, and fear clawed at her heart. The what-if spiraled in her mind, lending weight to the unformed thoughts in her head. I can't just risk everything. Not again. I get it, Ethan said, taking a step closer, his eyes earnest. But if I never try, I'm just letting more time pass. You deserve to be supported. They deserve to know their father. His words wrapped around her, squeezing her heart. She thought of moments when her kids hurt, moments when she felt alone in making decisions, and too many times when they needed a father who wasn't there. Would letting him in just recreate that hurt? Or could it heal something in the family they were now? Sarah, he said softly, I know I'm asking a lot, but if there's ever a chance. The sunlight softened as it dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm hue across their small gathering. It felt like a moment suspended in time. Jake and Mia's laughter echoed in her ears, combined with the weight of hopeful gazes. Then Sarah remembered the other side, the fear of the unknown and the comfort of her chosen solitude. Her heart thundered, knowing this choice could reshape everything. Could she really take the leap of faith? Would her decision set them on the path of healing or leave them open to more pain? A thought bubbled to the surface, a realization that there was more than just the question of letting Ethan back in. It was also about understanding herself and her beliefs. What if I don't get everything right? What if I still feel lost? And just as she opened her mouth to respond, a sudden commotion erupted from the playground where Jake slipped, stumbling with a yelp. The innocence of the moment shattered as all eyes darted toward him, heartbeat racing. Sarah rushed forward, but behind her, she could feel Ethan step closer, ready to confront the unforeseen waves of chaos that could either bring them together or push them further apart. Stay close, she called out, her heart pounding anew, the impending uncertainty looming larger than ever. Would they weather this storm, or would it sweep them further apart? Jake lay sprawled on the ground, his face scrunched up in surprise more than pain. The moment felt like it was suspended in time, the laughter fading into silence as concern rushed in. Mia hurried to his side, her earlier joy replaced by worry. Are you okay? She asked, her little hands cupping his face as if she could erase the fall with her touch. Yeah, I'm fine. He replied, but the bravado in his voice couldn't hide the wince that followed. He pushed himself up, brushing dirt and grass off his knees, and Sarah felt her heart drop a little. There was something about a scraped knee that reminded her of the times he fell both literally and figuratively during the early years of his life. Ethan was there too, kneeling beside them, sharing in their concern. You sure you're all right, buddy? He asked, a hint of tenderness softening his rugged features. Jake nodded, still recovering. I just tripped, he huffed, his delicate bravado slowly piecing itself back together. As Mia helped Jake to his feet, Sarah watched Ethan interact with her kids. Each shared smile felt like a crack in the wall she had built around her heart. Old fears and the weight of history pressed down on her, though. What if this moment of connection was fleeting? At what cost would she allow him back into their lives? Let us get back to playing. Lucy chirped, grabbing hold of Jake's hand. The whiff of popcorn and candy still lingered in the air, igniting a spark of innocence and joy. But before they could rush back to the playground swings and slides, Sarah took a deep breath and found herself stepping closer to Ethan. They need consistency, Ethan. I can't have you popping in and out. I understand, he replied, serious and engaged. I don't want to be just a visitor either. I want to be present. If you let me, I'll prove it every single day. The sincerity in Ethan's voice compelled Sarah to reconsider. She needed help. Her shoulders bore the burden of single-handedly managing everything, and the thought of sharing it, even with him, began to seem not just frightening but also, suddenly appealing. Can you handle the responsibilities? She questioned, searching his eyes for a glimmer of truth. Because I can't have you just leaving again, or I'll need to pull the kids back from you. You should know that. Sarah, he said, taking her hand gently in his, I'm all in. Where I messed up, I'm ready to make it right. Just then, Jake and Mia erupted into laughter again, chasing one another, their giggles filling the air with lightness. It shackled Sarah's heart but also unlocked a vision of what could be a family rediscovering one another through small moments of joy. Ethan glanced to the kids and then back to Sarah with a tentative smile. I can't help but want that too, just to see them smile and you. There it was again, that familiar flutter in her chest, a hint of something resembling hope. Yet, right then, the reality of the situation loomed large. The past had not been kind. What if they get attached? She noted, the words riding on a tide of vulnerability. What if everything falls apart again? Ethan gave her an earnest look. Life is messy. But maybe we can navigate through the chaos together. Isn't that what family is for? The children continued to play, oblivious to the undercurrent flowing between their parents. The sun had dipped even lower, wrapping the moment in amber light and stretching their shadows long against the grass. Taking a small step closer, Ethan seemed ready to cross the threshold they both knew was fragile. But Sarah felt grappling hesitation. Hearts with a lifetime of shadows had their own complexities. As laughter rang out and the kids spun around, joy intertwining with fear. She whispered softly, "What if we start slow? Just for them?" Hope flickered in Ethan's eyes. She could almost hear the sigh of relief leave him. "I'll take that. One step at a time," he said, stepping into her world just a little more. Yet even amidst potential healing, doubt flickered at the edges. Which route lay ahead, toward light or deeper into the shadows? Before Sarah could ponder any further, a distant scream erupted from the playground, one that became a sharp reminder that their family tapestry was still in the works, unraveling even as it was woven. "What now?" Sarah called, adrenaline jolting through her. Ethan's steady gaze rested on her, filled with silent promise. But somewhere deep down, the unspoken question resonated: could they truly weave back together the frayed pieces of their family, or were they simply setting themselves up for another fall? Sarah's heart raced as she turned toward the playground, searching for the source of the scream. The laughter had vanished, swallowed by an urgency that filled the air. The world around her dimmed, her focus narrowing down to the small figures darting near the swings. "Jake! Mia!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the lingering warmth of the sun. Amidst the colorful chaos, Jake was clutching his arm while Mia stood frozen, wide-eyed and trembling. The sight hit Sarah like a punch to the gut, fear twisted in her stomach. Ethan was already on the move, his instincts sharper than hers. He pushed past the cluster of drifting parents and children and reached the trio. Sarah followed closely behind, the sound of her own footsteps pounding in her ears. "Everything's okay, buddy. What happened?" Ethan knelt next to Jake, who was now sitting on the ground, tears welling in his eyes. "I don't know. I just twisted my arm trying to swing higher." Jake spluttered, his breaths quickening. Mia looked at her brother, her expression shifting from shock to concern. "I didn't mean to push you so hard." A swell of feelings crashed over Sarah: helplessness, anger, but more prominently, a deepened realization of how fragile their kids were, how easily joy could morph into fear. She reached Jake and knelt beside him, brushing her hand against his hair. "Let me see, sweetheart." He reluctantly held out his arm. It didn't look broken, but the sight of her son in pain sent her heart racing. She glanced at Ethan, who was assessing the situation with a steady gaze. "Jake, take a deep breath," he instructed, gently examining the arm. "I think you might just need to rest a bit, but we should probably get it checked out, just to be safe." "What if it hurts?" Jake's voice trembled, a small boy suddenly feeling the weight of the world. Ethan placed a supportive hand on his shoulder. "You're gonna be okay. I'll be right here with you. We'll go together." As Jake nodded, Sarah felt a thread of connection woven tighter, even amidst the stress. This man, who had once been a chapter in her past, was stepping up, not just for her, but for their son, too. "Okay, Jake," she said, trying to infuse a note of reassurance. "We'll go, but I need you to be brave for a few minutes. Can you do that?" He nodded, albeit cautiously, as she grabbed her phone to call for an appointment. Ethan turned to Sarah, his eyes softening. "I can take him, if you want. It might be easier, especially if it's just for a moment." The suggestion filled her with gratitude and a tinge of vulnerability. A part of her wanted to shield Jake from this new reality, fearing the volatility of shared custody and the risk that came with trusting Ethan again. But a deeper part longed for that sense of relief, the possibility of sharing responsibility. "I should come too," she said hesitantly. Ethan caught her gaze. "You can. But you can also stay here with Mia. I can handle it, I promise." The words seeped into her, wrapping around her heart and nestling there. It was a choice, a small opening, and she could feel her resolve shifting. "Okay," she replied, her voice steady. "Just, keep me informed." Without waiting for further hesitation, Ethan took Jake's hand, offering comfort. He was the dad Jake needed in that moment, and that understood the delicate balance of emotions swirling between them. As they walked toward the crowd of parents, laughter and joyful play resumed like the pause hadn't existed at all. Unaware of the struggle that the adults faced, Mia tugged at her hand, sensing her mother's apprehension. "I'm not scared, Mommy. It's just a scratch." "Right," Sarah murmured, grateful for her daughter's innocent optimism. Minutes passed like hours, and though the children's laughter floated around them, a prickling anxiety coiled within. Would Jake be okay? And when would they truly feel like a family again? Just then, she received a text from Ethan. "Jake is going to be fine. We're headed to the clinic." Relief washed over her, but it mingled with looming uncertainty. Could one great moment outweigh the shadows of the past? As the sun began to set, a sliver of hope flickered in Sarah's chest. Maybe, just maybe, they could bridge the gaps, find their way back together. But as she looked toward the playground, laughter echoing clearer than ever, another scream pierced the air. What now? Panic gripped her once more, and she sensed a storm brewing around them. Ethan's reassuring presence would have to somehow hold it all together, but Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling that they weren't out of the storm yet. How many more twists lay ahead, and would their fragile peace survive the next challenge? The park buzzed with an unexpected tension, laughter teetering on the edge of chaos. Sarah's heart raced as she turned to Mia, who had gone wide-eyed and still once more. "Mommy, what's happening?" she asked, her small voice trembling. "Just a little fender bender. Don't worry, sweet pea." Sarah's heart felt like it was doing somersaults as she followed her daughter's gaze. She saw another little girl had fallen off a swing, clutching her knee. It was a whirlwind, a flurry of concerned parents rushing in like bees drawn to honey. A moment ago, joy reigned. Now the air thickened with worry and shouts. But this time, Sarah felt a wave of calm wash over her. She remembered that feeling during Jake's moment of panic. Before chaos could swallow her whole, she caught sight of Ethan coming back. Jake, with a small bandage on his arm and a brave smile, walked closely beside him. Ethan carried an air of composure that steadied Sarah's flailing heartbeat. "Jake's going to be just fine," he said, glancing between her and their son. Relief tugged on her chest as Jake laughed, cradling a well-deserved ice cream cone as a reward for his bravery. "I'm all right, Mommy," Jake exclaimed, his other arm swinging with proud determination. The small victory danced in Sarah's heart, their connection igniting warmth in a thinning chill. "See? All's well that ends well," Ethan said, a soft smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Suddenly, the tension from moments before seemed smaller, more manageable. "What's wrong?" Jake looked over at Mia, who held back a thread of tears as the other girl cried nearby. "We can help." His eyes sparkled with eagerness, resilience shining through childhood innocence. "Yay! Let us go, Jake." Mia bounced on her feet, excitement oozing from her tiny frame. They dashed toward the commotion, eagerness radiating off them. For the first time today, laughter was accompanied by a brave, unified front. The kids were a beacon of hope in a world that felt uncertain. Sarah exchanged a glance with Ethan, a fleeting moment where their shared understanding hung in the air like a whisper. "You're good with them," she admitted softly. "I try," he shrugged, his casual tone lightening Sarah's worries. "I just want what's best for them." That simple affirmation settled deeper than any words before. It was what she had feared and longed for all at once. A promise for connection, reassurance, and perhaps a glimmer of what could be. As they reached the little girl, Mia knelt beside her and offered a comforting perspective. "It's just a scratch. I have band-aids at home." Jake chimed in, adding his own wisdom, "You can have my ice cream if you want." The vibrant exchange drew a smile across not just Sarah's face but the faces of worried onlookers, who began to relax as the kids modeled the essence of compassion and connection. In that instant, Sarah recognized her family's blueprint, love expressed through simple gestures. The tension beginning to dissipate in the soft glow of evening, she, too, felt renewed hope washing over her. Perhaps they could move forward together, forging something strong and beautiful. Later that evening, with the soft sky painted in pastels, Sarah sat on the porch, the laughter of her kids drifting from the backyard. Mia and Jake were spiritedly chasing fireflies, with Lucy close by, weaving them stories of magic and dreams. Sarah listened, a light warmth in her chest. Ethan appeared beside her, leaning against the railing. "They're amazing, aren't they?" he asked, a tender smile shared between them. "Yes, they really are," she replied, her voice laced with full-hearted realization. "We could help them grow too, together," he ventured quietly, his gaze steady. The echo of vulnerability lingered as she replayed the day, the hard truths, the glimmers of hope, and the laughter that made them stronger. "I know it'll take time, but maybe we should try." A sense of determination bloomed, gently woven with trust. He nodded, cautiously optimistic. "One step at a time then, yes?" She laughed softly, her pulse syncing with the rhythm of their shared resolve. "Yes, we'll go slow, but steady." This was the moment they pivoted towards healing, an understanding solidifying between them, and as they sat together, her children lighting up the darkness with their laughter, she finally believed they could emerge from the storm together. Sarah looked out at Mia and Jake, running unburdened under the blanket of twilight, and felt it transform, fear transforming into love, worry into connection, sorrow into joy. This was the start of a new chapter, brimming with possibilities, where their family's paint could blend colors anew. The past didn't have to dictate the future, and it was finally time to bask in the glow of love. As the fireflies danced around the lush green backyard, Sarah's heart soared. Love had triumphed against the odds once more. Now, dear friends, if you found inspiration in their journey, you need to subscribe now to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your feelings about this transformative ending and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing story. Don't wait not even one more second. The adventure continues, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.